Hello everyone, it's nearing the end of our first week of class and I hope you're enjoying our learning module focused on the origins of Native Californians. I want to take this opportunity to read an additional oral tradition to round off our list of Native creation stories. So I will read the story out loud and then I will discuss the background context that makes this story important in particularly. So bear with me, I'm a horrible reader. In the beginning, Old Raven created the universe. At first, the earth was shapeless and covered in darkness, and Old Raven hovered over the waters. Old Raven divided the day from the night, naming them day and night. This was the first day, and Old Raven saw that it was good. Next, Old Raven made the heavens to separate the water from the earth, and on the third day, he raised the dry land up from the waters below. Old Raven then made the great light for the day and the lesser light for the night. This was the fourth day. Old Raven commanded the waters to fill with living creatures and the air to fill with other types of birds, and he was pleased. Old Raven then said, "Let us make man." So he created man and gave them authority over all living things. Now the first person, Black Bear, was created by Old Raven out of the soil and given life by Raven's breath. Bear named all the other animals and the birds that Raven had made. But Bear had no companion. So Old Raven caused Bear to fall asleep and created Woman, who he called Fox, from one of Bear's ribs. Old Raven told them that together they could live in the great valley, eating salmon and gooseberries and whatever they wished, except for the red mushroom that grew near the stream. But the most cunning animal, which Old Raven had made, was named Coyote, and he tempted Fox to eat the mushroom. So Bear and Fox ate, and suddenly their fur fell off. Covering themselves with cedar branches, they tried to hide from Old Raven, but Old Raven knew they had eaten the red mushroom. Then he cursed Coyote and Bear and Fox, and in shame they were driven from the great valley. Old Raven told Bear he'd have to toil and sweat to work the soil from which he had been created, and Fox would have to give birth to children, and these children would become all the people of the world. Now, hopefully, some of you might think this story sounds suspiciously familiar, and it should, because ultimately, this is the Judeo-Christian creation story from the Old Testament of the Bible. Now, I just changed the common characters, God, Adam and Eve, the snake, to other zoomorphic creatures, including Old Raven, Bear, and Fox. Now, here's the reason why I did this, why I read it to you, and this is part of my class for the last few years. When I first started teaching Native cultures of California way back in 2008, I only provided the archaeological background concerning the peopling of California. But I quickly realized that was based on my own bias as an archaeologist, and I was only providing students with part of the story, and I needed to include the Native perspective and those oral traditions. So the next year I taught the course. We read out loud in class many Native Californian creation stories. We watched many of the same videos that you have watched as part of this module. And I had a student raise their hand in class with this disgusted look on their face. And when they commented, they said something to the extent that they couldn't believe that people could really have faith in and believe in such nonsense. How could animals speak? How could there be a rainbow bridge and people turn into dolphins? And this really set me back as an instructor. And in class that day, I tried to explain the concept of ethnocentrism. And ethnocentrism is the antithesis, it's the opposite of cultural relativity. It is judging another culture based on your own cultural norms and values. And it just so happens that religious beliefs and faith have the tendency to be the focus of ethnocentric thought by a variety of people. And I tried to explain that, judging these oral traditions based on these ethnocentric thoughts just wasn't the proper way to think of them. So when I went home that night, I thought about taking the Judeo-Christian creation story and putting a twist on it by changing the characters. And the next day in class, I read it out loud, and the student in question didn't even realize that it was the Judeo-Christian creation story, and again thought it was nonsensical because instead of God, I was talking about Old Raven. So anyway, as we are contemplating and thinking about and comparing and contrasting the archaeological data with native oral traditions about their own creation, it's important to be culturally relative. And if you think about it in a broader perspective, every creation story, be it the Judeo-Christian creation story or the Modoc or Chumash creation story, if you think of it in a logical, data-driven sense, it might not make sense. But if you think about it from a culturally relative perspective, where faith and thousands of years of tradition are involved, then it becomes an important way of knowing the world and somebody's place within it. Anyway, class, hopefully you enjoyed the story and the moral or the parable that goes along with it. Take care, and we'll speak with you soon.